Hello, everybody. This is Barbara Drazga, aka the Deal Diva. I'm here tonight with Trent Deersmith. And Trent, are you sharing your screen there, Trent? Awesome.
Yep.
Trent is, first of all, welcome to Deal Diva Happy Hour. Thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedules this evening to be here. And I want to honor your time and get started and give you a ton of content right away. We're going to talk about processes in your Amazon business and how to use them to source more product, to free up your time so you can do things that are that your superpowers are best suited for, and how to build a team that runs your business through automation and processes and etc. So Trent here is the dude. He is the guy who knows about this stuff and more. He's built a business and sold it. He built his Amazon business from, correct me if I'm wrong, but just like less than 2 years ago, from 0 to 100,000 a month in 8 months. Is that correct, Trent?
No, we went to 100,000 a month in 5 months, and we're now at over $250,000 a month.
Yeah. So kudos to you. Congratulations, man. I know you work hard and you've got a great team and you work hard at building that team and the processes. So thank you for taking time out of your crazy schedule and away from your family to be here tonight. So again, my name is Barbara Drazga. This is Trent Deersmith, and we're just going to jump straight in and let Trent do his stuff. Thank you, Trent.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to complain if it's a happy hour. How come nobody shipped me a beer?
Oh, man. That's vodka in that glass over there. You don't know what's in my deal.
This is just water. All right. So thank you very much, everybody, for showing up. I see we have a good flock of folks here. When I did this last time I hosted it, I was able to do a poll. I don't see that I have that option because I didn't set this one up. So I guess we'll have to skip the poll. But what we're going to talk about today is...
Don't skip the poll. Do it in the chat.
We won't be able to get any results that way, so it won't work.
Gotcha. Okay.
Product sourcing made easier. Notice I lined out easy. Product sourcing is never easy, but there are absolutely methods that we employ that you too can employ where you can make it a lot easier. And that's why we've been able to grow as quickly as we've been able to grow. So let's cover off the agenda real quick. We're going to talk in detail about the system that I developed to source products. I also want to highlight the top 5 reasons why people fail and how you can avoid them. And then we'll do Q&A until the top of the next hour, because I think my slides will nearly take an hour to get through. All right. The very first thing that I like to point out is some time ago, and I don't remember where I heard this. I heard an expression that says, every entrepreneur is like a surfer. And to be a really great surfer, you need to have a really big wave. Pretty hard to be a surfer on a lake, right? So if you are in the Amazon space, go ahead and give yourself one of these, because Amazon, as we all know, is a monster wave. E-commerce is a monster wave. This is not my first business, as Barbara has mentioned. I've already grown a business to multi-million dollars. I sold it for over $1 million, but I will tell you, it took me 8 years. That was my first business of blood, sweat, and tears to get that sucker to a paltry $2 million. And here, not even 2 years in, our annual run rate's $3.5 million, and in calendar year 2018, we're probably going to come in at around 4.5. So did I get a whole lot smarter? I got a little bit smarter, but I mostly picked a much, much better business model, and that is a product-based business that harnesses e-commerce and Amazon. So keys to success, rule number 1, you should expect this to be harder than you think, especially when you first start out. And the reason for that is because you don't know what you're doing. So how can you mitigate that? You can get great training and you can have great systems. Number 2, you have to be committed 100%, because what happens with new people is they think that it's going to be really easy because they read the sales page of some training course somewhere that said you're going to get rich overnight, and those kind of things make me want to gag because they're never true. But nonetheless, I mean, here I am 20 months in and I'm doing $250,000 a month. So does it take forever? No, it doesn't take forever, but it takes longer than 2 weeks to be successful. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they give up far too soon. Rule number 3, find a mentor that you can follow. There's the folks over at the Wholesale Formula. They have an excellent training course. It's not available at this point in time. So if you're not a student, you cannot enroll at this point in time. But find someone somewhere, some way, somehow who's done what you want to do and then simply model their results. Now, you may have to hire a person as your coach, or you may be able to find a buddy in a Facebook group somewhere, someone ideally who is in a similar place to you, so you can bounce ideas off of each other, share ideas with one another. But they're not going to be so good at mentor. That's more of an accountability partner. So the mentor is really someone who has got their, what I call the skid marks and the stripes, because they've been down the road. And then rule number 4, arguably more important than rule number 3, is develop systems to allow you to outsource the grunt work. And wholesale sourcing products requires a lot. Let me say that one more time, a lot of grunt work. And you should not be doing that grunt work. You should have virtual assistants for $2, maybe $3 an hour at the most, doing that grunt work for you. And I'll explain further in our presentation what exactly is that grunt work. And then rule number 5, of course, is hire people, virtual assistants, and ultimately US-based employees, as I have done, to follow your systems and do the grunt work. I've been so successful at this that I actually hold no day-to-day role in my Amazon business. I have a number of other businesses that are all e-commerce or online based, and I'm more active in some of those. I definitely oversee. I go to the same office every day. I'm in the morning meeting every day. But in terms of sourcing products, I haven't sourced products in over a year, because I created systems and then I got really good at it, and then I hired other people and I handed it over to them. I've never done a reorder in my life, because my wife handles that area of the business according to the standard operating procedures that we use. So definitely think of this as really and truly a business, not just I hope this sort of thing sort of works out, because there are hundreds of thousands of people who are already making a very, very good living selling products on Amazon. And that's why rule number 3, rule number 2, you should be 100% committed. This is not a business, I wonder if it works. Trust me, this business works. That's why Amazon is as big as it is. Rule number 6, you need to send at least 200 emails a week. And I'll just have that hang in silence there for a minute. We send 300 and have from day one. In order to be successful, before you grow old and die, you will need to send at least 200 emails per week, every week, week after week after week after week. And that's why there is a lot of grunt work. And then rule number 7 is look, act, and talk like a professional, because first impressions are everything. And so that is really meant to speak to your website. I've seen some pretty shoddy websites in this business. And when you're sending an email to a brand who you want to develop a relationship with, and your website is ugly, your email is just going to get deleted. And if it doesn't do a good job of communicating your value propositions, your email is just going to get deleted. Enough of your emails are going to get deleted. You don't need to help them to delete anymore. So why listen to me? I don't know if any of you know me or ever heard of me. I'm, as friends say, I'm all over the internet. I publish 3 videos a week called the Bright Ideas Daily Nugget. The home of my personal brand is brightideas.co. I have a podcast there where I'm, 230 or 240 episodes deep. I've interviewed hundreds of people on that show over the last 4 or 5 years. So if you are not yet familiar with me and wish to become more so, that's the home of Trent on the internet. So I don't know if you guys will be able to see this or not, so I'll read it to you. This is our results of the last 30 days leading up to April the 9th. When I took this screenshot, our revenue was $248,295. Our margin was 18.97%, and our gross profit was $46,451 for that 30-day period of time. I gave this talk for the very first time a year ago, and back in April of 2017, I went through the very laborious process of collecting all this data, and it was so laborious I didn't want to update this slide, and I knew intuitively that it hasn't really changed. And the really important thing here is I guess, I can't really highlight it, but where you can see where my mouse is. Percentage of emails converted to a one deal. What that means is for how many emails, for all the emails that we sent, how many times did we win? How many times did we source a product? You see that number? 1.65%. Doesn't seem like much. It seems like you're failing most of the time. And the reality is you're failing most of the time, which is why you have to send 200 emails per week. If I was out here trying to sell, send 50 emails per week, I'd have never been successful. I'd have got frustrated, burned out, and I would have given up. But for a person who does not have processes and does not have the help of a virtual assistant, even sending 50 emails a week is bloody near impossible, because there is so much work that you need to do to put yourself in a position to be able to send that many emails. So knowing your numbers, which is what this slide is, and understanding that this business, like almost every other business on planet Earth, is a numbers game when it comes to generating revenue, is extremely important. I have people who are existing customers or in my mastermind groups. One couple comes to mind, April and Kip. They've been successful, very successful with OA and RA, but they're very uncomfortable with that model because there's all sorts of risks about accounts being suspended and so forth. And so they're wanting to transition to wholesale. And prior to starting to use the systems that I developed, it was all April could do to send 50 emails a month. And guess what? They weren't having any success, and they were very frustrated. They thought, well, I'm never going to be able to make this transition. And then once they started to use the systems that are a part of my process, as you'll find out if you ever watch a video from them, they're like, we sourced more products in the last month than we did in the last 2 years. And it's simply because they just swung. If you imagine yourself in a baseball game, if you swing, whoever swings the bat more times is going to be more successful. It's just basic mathematics. The challenge, of course, in wholesale is swinging the bat takes a great deal of effort, and I'm going to walk you through what some of that effort is. So I probably sound like a broken record here, but sourcing products requires scale. You've got to do these hundreds of emails per week. You've got to have systems. You just cannot do it without it. So the big question, of course, you're asking is in your head or maybe in the chat, because I'm not reading the chat right now. By the way, if you're going to do questions, use the question box if you would, because in the chat they get lost, and it's much easier for me to just go through the Q&A box at the very end. So if you would be kind enough to do that, we'll make sure that we get through as many of the questions as time allows. So how do you send 200 emails a week? Well, this is the overview. This is what my sourcing process looks like. There's a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of leaf sourcing at the very beginning. That takes about a minute. And then there's finding competitive sellers. These are other sellers on Amazon who are already succeeding, and they already have lots of products. We then take an application called Price Checker 2, and we extract the store of all of those sellers. And we do this hundreds and hundreds of times a month, because there are thousands, there are tens of thousands, there are hundreds of thousands of sellers. You'll never, ever run out of sellers, because there are more sellers every day. So what this does for us is so let's say, ABC Super Deals is a seller and they have 3,000 products in their store. We suck all those products into a spreadsheet, and then we do some basic mathematics on the spreadsheet to see which products would be potentially profitable for us to carry. We then import all those into HubSpot. We then get this email application called Gmass that allows us to send a whole bunch of emails at one time, and we just email them all, and then we call them. And out of that, some products make it into another spreadsheet, which is called our pricing and margin calculator, which is when we double check everything. And if everything checks out, we buy the product. That's it. Obviously I have more detail and more slides, but high level, that's it. You just do this over and over and over and over. We do this over and over and over and over. Right now, we have one full-time sourcing agent. Used to be me. Now it's a fellow named Jared. He's supported by, I believe, 3 full-time VAs. We just made an offer to a second sourcing agent. We're going to hire another 3 VAs, and now we'll be sending 600 emails per week. How are we doing all that? Right here, all of this. All right, so what kind of results does this generate? Well, recently, from November to March, our monthly gross profit increased by a total of 74%, or an average of about $5,000 a month. So by taking the approach I just explained, our gross profit, not our sales, our gross profit, more important number to pay attention to, has increased from November to March by an average of $5,000 per month. Over this period, to accomplish this, we sent roughly 6,000 emails to potential suppliers. That's 6,000 products that we identified by shortlisting and doing the math that have profit potential, that are not stocked by Amazon, that we would like to carry. 6,000. That is why you cannot do this manually. Perhaps even more exciting, though, is over the same period, we have signed contracts with new suppliers that once all of the company's products that we've ordered are actually in stock and shipped to an Amazon warehouse and they're actually for sale, our monthly gross profit, if I don't source another single product, will be $60,000 a month, which is way higher than my overhead, I can assure you that. So what this proves to me, and you can decide to believe it or not, is that sending a lot of emails and picking up the phone works exceedingly well in this business. So how do you find sellers? That is the easiest thing in the world to do. Go onto Amazon, type in just go to any product category, look at any product, and then look at the sellers of that product. And then you can click on each one of these links. River Colony Trading, Designer Trends, Big Fly, blah, blah, blah. What you're looking for, or what we look for, are sellers that over the last 30 days have somewhere between about 30 and 100 reviews. Why 30 and 100? That says they're doing a reasonable level of sales. That means the stuff they have in their store sells well. Okay, check in the checkbox. I want stuff that sells well. I'm not in the business of launching products. I don't do private label. I don't create new listings. I look for products that sell well. And then the reason I limit it to about 100 is because I don't want to go after the products that some mega corporation has, because if they're doing a couple $100 million a year, maybe they're so big that they have a bunch of products that I simply can't source because I'm not that big of a company. You'll run into MOQs where, you have to order by the truckload, or, it's $100,000 per PO. There's no point in pursuing that stuff if you don't have the money to pay for it. Another fantastic way to find promising brands, and this is a relatively new tool that we absolutely love. It's by a company by the name of ViralLaunch, and it's their product discovery tool, and why this is so incredibly awesome. And I used to wish for this before this was launched. I used to say to my staff, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just have a tool that I could say, show me a list of all the brands on Amazon that are doing between 20 and 30,000 a month, or between 200 and 300,000 a month, or whatever number I picked. Now I have that tool. So that is another phenomenal way to get a list of brands to go after. Then, once we extract those sellers' storefronts using Price Checker 2, they end up in a spreadsheet. It's just a Google sheet. And on the right-hand side, we've got some basic mathematic formulas, which I'll walk you through in a minute, that are pre-populated. So the formulas are there. And then when we take the data from Price Checker 2, and we line up all the columns and make sure everything matches, of course. Once we export it, we copy and paste it into here, all the math happens automatically. And what I'm looking for is this column right here. So what is this math? Let's use a real simple example. Let's say you find a product that has a unit volume, an estimated sales of 1,000 units a month. And let's say there's only one other seller in contention for the buy box. What that means is there's one other seller who's FBA, and if there was a bunch of sellers, what in contention means is their price is within 2% of the lowest priced FBA seller. So if I'm at $10 and you're at $15, you're not in contention for the buy box. You need to be much closer. Amazon will never rotate you through. So 1,000 units, one seller. The math here says, well, if I was a second seller, how many units per month would I get? Well, 1,000 divided by 2. So okay, I could expect to get 500 units. Great. So 500 units, and this thing sells at say $20. So that's $10,000 a month in sales for that product. And if I could estimate a profit if I could get a 15% or greater gross profit margin, and again, that's what this math is doing, $10,000 in sales would make me $1,500. Would I want to carry a product that would make me $1,500 a month? Yeah, all day long. Absolutely. We've taken products that make less than that. We don't go down below about $300 unless there are more than one product per brand, in which case having products that are less are okay because it's just one brand relationship to maintain, so reorders are fairly simple. The reason that you don't want to have a gazillion products that all have low sales volumes, it's a couple of things. One, it will tie up a bunch of your capital because the stuff doesn't sell very fast, so your inventory turn is very low. Number two, if you're a value-added seller like we are, and I'm going to explain later on what that means, there's a lot of work to do for every product listing, optimization, pay-per-click campaigns, answering reviews, et cetera, et cetera. plus the reorder and calculating the reorder, it's all too much work to do if the product's only going to make you like $100 a month. It's just not worth it. I mean, what's an hour of your time worth? Or several hours of your time. So don't make the mistake of going really, really wide and having a gazillion products. And there are some monster sellers out there that have a model like that. Like eTails is a perfect example. They have 4,500 SKUs or so. And their profit margin is 0. Now, that might be a decision on their part because they're aggressively spending on marketing. I don't know. I don't have access to their financials, but I know when they got bought, their financials got published and they didn't look that good. Top line revenue, yeah, lots of revenue, but no profit at the end of the day. Some other attributes that I consider, and these might not be important to you, when I'm looking at a product, I just wanted to get a sense of, well, what's that brand doing overall? I want to know roughly how big the company is. So I go into LinkedIn, I type in their company name and see how many employees they have. Because if they have hundreds and hundreds of employees, company's too big. I'm never going to get the relationship that I want to have. And then because I'm lazy and I don't like to fly on connecting flights, not that I actually travel to brands very often, I almost never do. But if I do, if it's a big brand and then I want to further that relationship, I don't want to have 2 airplane rides to get there. So this isn't necessarily a hard and fast rule for me that it has to be within 1 airplane ride. There are exceptions to that, but it is one of the attributes that we consider. Finding the contact information. Okay, you ready? Okay, I like this product. Company looks good. Yep, I want to reach out to these people and I want to send them an email. So how do you find the contact information? LinkedIn is the easiest way to do that. Just look up who you're looking for. And if you use a little tool called Snowbio, it'll take a good guess at the email address for you. You can message them through LinkedIn. You can message them through Facebook. Or if all else fails and you can't find anyone or anything, just go to their company website, use their contact form, contact them that way, or pick up the phone and call them, heaven forbid. All right, so now you're sending emails, lots and lots of them, 200 a week. So what should you expect when you contact a brand? That, most of the time. No, 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 no. We don't want any more Amazon sellers. Do you know why they say that? Because they're having too many damn problems with the sellers that they already have. Because the sellers they already have are what I call predatory or parasite sellers. They don't lift a finger to help that brand. They simply sell the product. They may have acquired it at a discount, end of life, whatever. They don't care about the brand. They're not in a relationship with the brand. And so they're the first ones to dump the price, violate MAP, let the listing go to crap. And so when you hear this from a seller, this is good because at first glance, you think, well, that's not good. They're not going to say yes to me. But if they easily say yes to everyone, the race to the bottom on price will happen like that. And you will never even be able to get a reorder in. So who cares about that? I want the people who say no to everybody because I'm going to be good enough to get them to say yes to me. And that is why we have a 20% gross margin across our portfolio of products. And that is why we have very low product attrition. And that is why we have such a successful business because we literally sign contracts with the brands. We don't just buy their stuff. We enter into an agreement with them, a 2-way agreement. So don't be put off by the no, 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 no. You just need to know your value propositions because you're going to be a value added reseller. It's kind of like being a marketing agency, but you don't ever send them a bill. You make your money by selling their products, but you're going to do things for them that a marketing agency would do. And this is another reason why you don't want to have 3,000 products in your catalog because how the hell are you going to stay on top of all that work? Right now, we have only about 100 active products and we're doing $250,000 a month. So you want to focus on that. So brands will tell you they don't want any more Amazon sellers because the ones they have already suck. Your number one job is to explain to them you're different, you can solve their problems, and basically not suck. And when you do that, they will say yes. So what are the top problems on Amazon? MAP violations, unauthorized sellers. That is like 99% of the top problems. Negative product reviews aren't being dealt with. Content is out of control. Maybe someone doesn't understand the platform, or there's already too many sellers, or they're getting beat by their competitors and they don't know why. Those are all real problems, but MAP violations and unauthorized sellers, that's the big dog by far. So you need to get really, really good at talking your way around that so that, and you'll get this with practice, so that you can position yourself to not be not just another loser trying to come along and get a free ride on their brand equity. They don't need any more of those people. They just don't. There's no value in having a bunch of sellers on Amazon. 2. That's it. Anything more than 2 does not add any value to the brand at all. So how do you communicate your value propositions? You got to have a killer website. So if you're wondering, well, gosh, I don't even know where to start, look at eTails and look at NetRush. That's what I did when I didn't have a clue. Don't copy their websites because you'll get found out like in about a minute and a half. But look at them to inspire you on what kind of content you need to have on your website. The most important thing is that your website makes it plainly obvious that you want to buy their stuff and you want to help them improve their marketing at no extra charge. If I was to boil it down to one sentence, that would be it. Then, so to begin with, all you need is a homepage, an About Us page, a What We Do page, and a contact page. That's it. You can build that in a day. Then, over time, this will become even more important, and that is publishing relevant content. Now, we don't publish blog posts very often. We don't publish them for SEO. We don't publish them for social sharing. We don't publish them for any of those reasons. The reason that we publish blog posts is this. When you're on the phone and you call a brand and you say, you know, I want to develop a relationship with you. I want to carry your products, blah, blah, blah. You're probably not on the first phone call talking to the decision maker. More than likely, you're talking to a sales rep. And maybe the sales rep thinks, you're onto something. I like what you're saying because we've got all these problems and we don't know how to solve them and you're sounding like you can solve them. Okay. So they're going to have to go to their boss and they're going to have to retell your story as good as you just told it to them. And the odds of that happening are 0. There is no way in hell they will be able to retell your story as good as you do. That's why you need to have a blog post. You know, you're saying to a brand, you know, you'd be better off with fewer sellers, and here's why, blah, 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 blah. You better have a blog post that you can send to them as soon as you hang up the phone that explains eloquently all the reasons why they would be better off with fewer sellers. And that way, when that person that you spoke with forwards or goes and talks to their boss, they can now forward your email to your beautiful website with your beautiful blog post. And that decision maker can then hear it in your words because you typed it out on your website, or maybe you did a video or whatever. So for every question that you get over and over and over again, you should have a blog post that answers that question. And this is like less than 10 blog posts. We haven't published a blog post probably over a year because you just don't need very many. So these are sales tools. These are helping you to convey your message. Now, making contact, is there any great secret to sending that email? Not really. This is an old email template of ours. This is what we used in the beginning. It worked okay. There is no perfect email template. What you should be doing is testing all the time. So out of our 300 email templates, or emails rather, 200 of them get the control email. 100 of them get a split test. And every week we're trying to see, can we come up with anything more effective? And there's 2 ways to measure effectiveness. Way number 1 is your reply rate. But that's not the most important way. And it took us months to figure that out. It took us a year to figure out that reply rate was not the most important. Intuitively, you think, well, yeah, if I get the most replies, that's great. You want quality of replies. What you're doing when you send 200 emails, you're trying to find brands who are hemorrhaging in pain and they need it fixed. And when that happens, when you find those brands, and they see your website, the sales cycle is really short. We've closed killer accounts in less than a week from the time we sent an email to the time the contract was signed and the PO was issued, less than a week. And those are accounts that make us $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month in gross profit. So there is no silver bullet email template. Test, 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 constantly test. The things you want to make obvious, I want to send you money. I want to buy your stuff. I know you get a lot of emails already. I know you don't want any more sellers. And as a matter of fact, I think you'd be better off with fewer sellers. And here's why. Reason 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many. All right. And then you should pick up the phone and call them, especially if they reply to your email. If they reply to your email, pick up the phone and call them. You can learn far more about an individual from talking to them than you can from emailing them. And in some cases, the person who calls you could be the decision maker, and it's happened for me. So calling them is incredibly important. As you can see, we actually generated more gross profit per phone call that we made. So all that data analysis I did over the thousands of emails we sent, we figured out that we were making roughly 3 times as much for making a phone call as we did for making an email. All right, staying organized. So when you send this volume of email, that's a lot of contacts, that's a lot of products, that's a lot of people, that's a lot of follow-up. You got to keep track of it all somehow. So we use HubSpot's sales tool to do that. There's a free version, which I'm pretty sure you will be just fine for when you're getting started out. We use the $50 a month version because there's some extra levels of advanced functionality that we want. You don't need that in the beginning. We use it to, we don't send our emails from HubSpot anymore because we use Gmass to do that. But that for the first email. All subsequent emails are tracked in HubSpot. We use it to make all of our calls, track all of our calls, create notes of our conversations, any follow activity tasks, and of course we track deals in the pipeline. So what is the deal in the pipeline, you might ask? This is one of the reasons why we use the paid version, because I want to be able to see this report. So every opportunity that you're going after, we'll just call each product or each brand is an opportunity. So if that brand has the potential, if you could win the brand and that brand was worth $1,000 a month, which would be a small brand, of gross profit to you, and you had 10 of those brands that you were pursuing simultaneously, you're not going to get them all, obviously, but that would be $10,000 worth of potential monthly gross profit that would be in your pipeline. And so this report tells me that. I'm able to look at this one report and know whether my sourcing, whether Jared and the people that are helping him are maintaining a high enough level of productivity. If this number is low, then I know we have a problem. I know that they're not doing enough initial emails. If this number is high, I also know that I might have to investigate further. Maybe there's some old crusty deals in there. But there's about $10,000 a month in our pipeline is what we shoot for per sourcing agent. And that seems to be a great number for us in terms of getting the results that we want. Other things inside HubSpot, you create your follow-up tasks there. You can give them titles and you can say what you did and the date you did it. These are all personal preferences on how we do it. So there's no right way, there's no wrong way. The point is HubSpot facilitates this process and makes it very easy. And at some point, you're going to need to prepare to make a phone call. Preparation is absolutely critical because you only get one chance to make the first impression. And this is something that we have systems for, and our VAs do all this work for us. We want to know what the product listing is, whether it has great photos, whether all the bullet points are filled out. We want to know what the competitors are doing, what their listing looks like, what their sales volume looks like. We want to know if anyone's running any advertising campaigns on the product that we're going after. We want to know if the sellers are running ad campaigns on the competitors' products. We want to know if negative reviews have been addressed on the product that we're going after, as also on the competitors. We want to know who the sellers are. We want to know how much inventory there is. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we want to know before we make that call. Why is that? Because when you're on that call and you're armed with that level of knowledge, and this is all data that your VA can easily collect for you, you're never going to be caught flat-footed. You're never going to wonder, what should I talk about, and end up just spewing some mindless goo like every other person who calls and who is unprepared like they do. Oh, we're awesome, and we're great, and you should probably let us sell your stuff. Who cares? That's not going to get it done for you. But if you say to them, they say, we don't want any more Amazon sellers. And I say, you know what? I get it. I completely understand. As a matter of fact, I agree with you. You don't need any more Amazon sellers. I think you'd be better off with fewer Amazon sellers. As a matter of fact, I think you need better Amazon sellers. And they might go, well, what do you mean? Well, before I picked up the phone, I had a look at your product listing and I had a look at your 2 biggest competitors. And I noticed that your competitors all have 9 or more images on their listing, and both of them are selling more than you, by the way. And you only have 3 images, and your images aren't really that great. And I noticed that both of them are targeting the keyword and the headline better than you are. And I noticed that both of them have advertising campaigns running for those keywords, whereas none of your current sellers are bothering to run any advertising campaigns. I had a look at your negative reviews, and I see that nobody's responding to those negative reviews. And I noticed that your price has been all over the map in the last 3 months. So the current sellers that you have, what exactly are they doing for you? That's the $64 question right there. Because if you've generated rapport on the call, and then this cannot happen on an email, in an email. If you have generated rapport and you display that level of knowledge and preparation, you will impress the person you're talking to. And when you say, what are they doing for you? They're going to go, you know what? I don't know. I didn't even think about the stuff that you just mentioned to me. And I've literally had accounts approved right then, right there. My record is 17 minutes from the no to the yes. And that account to this day has made us over $100,000 and continues to make us between $6,000 and $8,000 a month. That is how important it is to develop the skills to be good on the phone. Call script to start your call. You only need a small, short little script to start the call. Hi, my name is Trent. I'm the buyer for XYZ Company. We are a professional online retailer and brand solutions partner located in. I'd like to place a large order for several of your products and would like to know who I need to speak to set up a wholesale account. That's more or less your first call. Your opening script. Then they're going to give you the objection. We don't want any more Amazon sellers. Then you're going to go into covering off all of the things that you discovered in your pre-call research. So we already covered that. Now, are you going to get a yes the first time? Maybe. Most of the time, not. Does that mean you should just give up? Absolutely not. That brand, things can change. The person who's the decision maker can change. Maybe they're selling to Amazon now for some of their products, but they're unhappy. Maybe they've got a different third-party seller and they're unhappy. Stuff can change. This is why HubSpot's so important. You should be in touch with your A-list prospects every single month. Doesn't have to be a phone call. Could be an email. Ideally, it's a phone call, but every single month. And you're sharing with them new insights, new pieces of information that you have uncovered about them or their competitors to continually put yourself in a positive light. Eventually, they will say yes. So remember, it is a numbers game to be successful. So now let's jump into why people fail. And we've got 5 slides here, I think, and then we'll be done and we'll hop into Q&A. Mindset, number 1. You can have the best training in the world, you can have the best systems in the world, but if your head's all wonky, you're never going to be successful. You have to have determination, you have to have confidence, you have to have resilience because you're not always going to get the results that you want to have, and you have to have a positive attitude. If you do not possess those attributes, being an entrepreneur is simply not for you. Not following a proven formula. Selling on Amazon as a third-party seller is a very proven formula. Myself and many other people have proven that it works exceedingly well. Another reason that people fail, trying to do it all yourself on the cheap. It is impossible to succeed in this business on your own. If you do not hire a couple of virtual assistants and arm them with systems, you will not and cannot be successful. It is mathematically, statistically impossible. There are not enough hours in the day. And of course, not putting in a sustained effort and lacking key skills, being professional, knowledgeable, phone, etc. So with that said, we will hop over to questions and answers. So we've got 3, and I know I think there's chat going on, but like I say, if you've posted a question to chat, please post it to the Q&A box. So Paul Daniele, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Paul. What's the difference between the percent of emails converted to a deal, 8.23, and the percentage of emails converted to a one deal, 1.65? A deal, Paul, is an opportunity. I've identified products that have the potential to make me money. That's a deal. A one deal is I contacted the brand and they said yes, and I issued a purchase order. And in our case, that also means I signed a contract. When we started, we didn't sign contracts with every brand, and you don't need to in the beginning. But as you gain momentum, you will very quickly realize that you want contracts. All right, Larry. Hi, Trent. Great material. When you contact suppliers, are you contacting only brand owners, or do you contact distributors? We're experimenting, Larry, with contacting distributors right at this point in time. That's even more of a numbers game. You can use the same tool to analyze spreadsheets that contain tens of thousands of products. Barbara, can you mute yourself? You're giving some background.
Sure.
So the problem, there's pros and cons to each. Distributors, you can win accounts without being good on the phone because you don't need to talk to anybody. You can do it all over email because you're not engaging in a relationship with the brand. As a rule of thumb, in our limited experience sourcing products from distributors and attempting to do so, and to put this in perspective, our experiment is consistent with opening accounts with 20 different distributors across 4 different or 5 different niches, getting price lists from all of them and running those price lists through Price Checker 2. Our analysis of that is not yet complete, but we have seen that the margins tend to be thinner. And of course, you don't have any price control because there's going to be lots of other sellers, which is more than likely going to end up in a race to the bottom on price. So you have to some way figure out how are you going to be able to mitigate the risk of a declining price. Maybe there's limited amounts of inventory. Maybe you can build a relationship with a distributor and you can become the preferred account that they sell all that inventory to. So you're controlling the buy box that way. And I know people that do that. It takes legwork. Everything takes legwork. That's why this business takes a while to succeed. And I already covered how we leave source. Literally look up any product on Amazon and then just look at the sellers. So that's it. There are no more questions. So I guess we'll give the 1 minute call for questions. And if there isn't any that come in.
Yeah, Trent, why don't you talk to us a little about, you folks are on my list. So you've been getting emails from me this week about processes and systems and SOPs. And I've got a bonus for y'all. If you're listening to this webinar, you'll see that screen in just a second. Trent, talk to us about your wholesale e-commerce business systems, which is basically, this kind of like this boilerplate that wraps around the wholesale sourcing model with all of the processes in place and ready to go and outsource. Is that correct?
Yes. So these were developed. About that. Sure. So when we developed all of our systems, they were not for sale for anybody. We just developed them for our own purposes. And they're now at last count, I think 69 or 70 SOPs. And they address literally every area of our business, from product sourcing to purchasing, listing optimization, shipping, receiving, reconciliation, Amazon specific issues, pay-per-click campaign management, HR, finance. There is just a truckload of stuff that needs to get done to make the business run. And so we were asked, I gave a talk at a conference last year, and more or less the talk that I've given here. And I was mobbed afterwards by people from the audience, and everyone was asking me the same thing. Trent, would you sell us a copy of those systems? And so I thought, well, sure, okay, we'll give that a try and see how it goes. And it went smashingly well. And so I came up with a name for it, Wholesale E-commerce Business Systems, which the acronym is WEBS. And so that's what WEBS is. It is literally a turnkey plug and play set of business systems. Think of it like a menu in a restaurant. You go, and it's not a training course. You don't go in and read them all from start to finish. That's not what they're for. Let's say product sourcing is the area where you have the greatest need. You would hone in on the product sourcing folder. You would open it up and you would say, well, I need to hire some VAs. Okay, so step 1 is finding competitive sellers. All right, well, great. We have a process. We have a standard operating procedure that describes in great detail for a VA exactly the steps that they need to do to find sellers and put them in a spreadsheet. Cool. All right, that's done. Now I need to extract the storefronts. That's step 2. Extract the storefronts of all of those sellers. Okay, so guess what? We have another standard operating procedure for that because a VA does that for us, and it describes in excruciating detail. Like, we write these things so that a 5-year-old could follow them so that we don't get a bunch of questions, show screenshots and big red arrows and do this and download this and blah, 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 blah. So now a VA can literally, you just assign them the checklist and they do the thing. And then tomorrow the thing's done. Okay, so now we've done the extraction. So now they've been copied and pasted into a spreadsheet. Well, now we need to import them into HubSpot. I'm not going to do that. Why would I want to take time doing something that I can document a process for exactly how it's done? And I can say to my VA, yeah, do that tonight. And guess what? In the morning, it's done. Because you have to remember, these things have to happen thousands of times. Thousands, not hundreds. thousands of times. You're going to sit in front of your computer and do that? You're going to hire a VA and give them a quick little training video and hope they remember it? No, and then they quit and then you get a new one. You're going to get another little training video. It's not going to work. That's why we developed all of these highly detailed systems. So what WEBS is all of the standard operating procedures that my staff uses to run my $3.5 million Amazon business. And I don't even work there. Why? Because I developed the systems and then I hired a staff.
Let me unmute myself here. Now, Trent makes it sound really easy, or easier as he likes to say, but let me put this into reality. Like, this is my process documentation book. Like, you're going to laugh at me, Trent, right? I jot down notes and then I never end up outsourcing it because this is not anything. Nobody could even read my chicken scratch. Like, I'm so not where you are with processes, because it's hard. I mean, it takes time, and then you have to go over and you have to test the processes. And then you have to, do the arrows and do the graphic stuff and create videos for each little itty bitty teensy weensy step. And it is really time consuming instead of just, a lot of people are still in their business where like, it's just faster if I do it. But if you take that concept and you add that up for 100 different processes that take 10 minutes each, by the end of the week, instead of outsourcing the things that you shouldn't be doing, you've invested your whole week in doing the grudge work instead of investing your time in high-level tasks. So he has saved us all the time, hundreds of hours, as I'm guessing, of putting these systems together. How many hours worth of, I don't even know.
Well, so we've been in this business for 20 months, and our VAs, our SOPs have been in development and refinement and improvement and refinement and improvement for all 20 of those months. On our team, writing these SOPs, me, Jared, Laura, Janine, Kendra, Liz.
Wow. 5
people for 20 months developing this stuff.
Wow. So basically you are shortcutting that from this stage all the way through to automated, delegatable, not that that's a word, but delegatable set of systems around to run and build a wholesale sourcing business is how I understand it, correct? So go ahead.
As people who have bought them, and on the sales page, there are testimonial videos from people that use them. Josh Lucas, for example, who I interviewed in episode 229 of my podcast, he's built a $2 million a year business. He hasn't even quit his job. Wow. April and Kip have, as I mentioned maybe earlier in this talk, transitioning from OA and RA to wholesale. Once they got a hold of WEBS and started to actually use the product sourcing SOPs, sourced more products in 1 month than they did in the prior 2 years.
Wow.
They couldn't send enough emails.
Wow.
Nate Bradshaw, who I interviewed in episode 226, was doing it all like loosey-goosey on the fly. He was, I think, customer number 2 of WEBS when it was launched back in October. Within 4 months, he had doubled his revenue, and he'd been able to build a team, and he just continues to grow. And he was, like, say, episode 226, I believe, of my show. So if you want detailed, long interviews, go listen to that stuff. But
so here's what you do, guys. Go to www.myfbasystems.com, and on that page, first of all, you see on your screen here a bunch of bonuses. These are actually my bonuses, and I just changed the slide to add one more. After listening to Trent speak, I added a done-for-you value proposition website. I actually have a couple of web developers on staff, and we will put together a basic value proposition website for you as kind of like a boilerplate that you can then add more content to, okay? So you'll get $50 discount coupon for a vetted virtual assistant from freeup.com, lifetime discount off professional prep services with no sign-up fee, a wholesale sourcing directory of 500 suppliers, the top 100 best-selling products on Amazon, and I'll give you an hour of private business strategy coaching with me. They don't call me the deal diva for nothing. I'm very, very good at negotiating price discounts, free shipping, all sorts of things with my suppliers. So you get all of that when you purchase the web system. And there are 2 different levels, I believe. When you purchase either one of them, I will give you all 5 bonuses plus the done for you value prop website. And you can see my bonuses as well as a link to Trent's website where you can see the testimonials and Trent's video if you go to myfbasystems.com. So what were you going to say, Trent?
There was 1 or 2 more questions there. Paul, how many hours of VA work would it say to take dinner to be able, can't talk, to send 200 emails a week? It does make sense. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, Paul, but I will tell you that it's the better part of 2 full-time VAs to be able to do that. There is a lot of grunt work. And even if you're using my system is what allows you, what enables you to be able to hire those VAs and have them do all that work very, very easily.
Yeah, I think he meant with your system. That's the next question down. Okay.
Yeah, he's still going to need 2 full-time VAs to be able to send that many emails.
Awesome. Okay. But how much do VAs cost in the Philippines? What?
$2 to $3 an hour.
$2 to $3 an hour. So we're not talking about people you're paying $15, $20 an hour. You know, you can leverage really talented people, really smart, detail-oriented people in other parts of the world for $2 to $3 an hour.
Yep. We do it all the time. I think we have 6 of them working for us now, 6 or 7, something like that.
Is that right?
Our business really couldn't function without them. We're so dependent on our virtual assistants because there's just so much stuff that they can easily do for $2 to $3 an hour that if I had to employ US workers to do it all, I wouldn't have enough profit margin available to do it.
So imagine, you guys, you're paying for just 2 VAs, you know, $6 an hour, and they're working 40 hours a week for you, and they're generating hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wholesale leads for you and following up on them, communicating with them, starting the process, and then tracking where each of those leads are in the pipeline. Imagine that that's all done without you being involved in doing it. Maybe you come in at the critical part where you're picking up the phone and you're closing the deal and talking to the supplier.
So let me clarify on that.
Please.
What you're going to be doing is replying to the replies. They're involved in everything in getting that first email sent. They don't do anything after that. Nothing. I mean, you could have them, you know, there's other things you could have them do, and we do have them, but to be able to send 200 emails, the VAs are the ones that do all the data collection, all the analysis, all the extractions, everything that's described in our systems, so that you can sit there and go with GMAS and go send.
Wow.
200 emails go. Now, so we do that on a Monday. 200 emails out the door on a Monday, or in our case, 300. For the rest of the week, and when I used to do this, it's the same as what Jared does now. I'm dealing with replies, picking up the phone, looking at price lists, analyzing prices, seeing if there's margin, negotiating for better pricing, having conversations with people who replied to the emails that I sent.
Awesome. Great. Well, hey, Trent, when can they get the system? And I understand that you're going to kind of lock this down so you can get everybody onboarded. When do they need to take advantage of this opportunity to get your systems?
It's available now. It's only available for 1 week increments twice a year, and it will not be available after midnight this Friday.
Eastern time, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so you guys have 24 hours and a couple of hours to get over to myfbasystems.com, check out my bonuses, click on the link, get over to the sales page, and watch the videos for all the folks who have already invested in this and have used it in their business, since he's only made it available one time, just 6 months ago, right? He just started making these systems available. So go over there and watch testimonials, and he's got a list of all of the processes. Every single one of the processes that's covered in webs, that's all on that website. So go to myfbasystems.com, check it out. You can hit me up on Facebook. I'm Barbara Drazga, and there's Trent Deersmith down there. Thank you all, and thank you, Trent, for being on here tonight. Thank you all for investing your time this evening, and we will talk to you later. Bye. Okay, and